There's something in this house that he wants. I swear, no matter how much you've tried to scare us, you are not getting in this house.
What's up, my fellow actors? Welcome to the Acting Career Center, here to help you learn the skills you need to break into the film and television industry. My name is Kurt Yu. Thank you so much for spending some time here with me today. If this is your first time here, you definitely want to subscribe to this channel to get more videos on acting, auditioning, and career advice every single week. That little teaser trailer that you just saw at the beginning of this video was for a movie called By Night's End, which I talked about a little bit in a previous video earlier this week, but we're going to go much more in depth today. By Night's End is an action thriller that we made back in early 2019. I had an amazing time working with this cast and crew, and it actually just came out this week on video on demand. That means you can rent it right now on Amazon Prime Video, on DirecTV, Fandango, a bunch of other platforms as well. I'll put a link to rent By Night's End down in the description of this video. Today we're going to be talking to three people that played big roles in making this movie happen. The first person is Michelle Rose, who plays Heather in this movie, the badass female lead. You get to see her do a bunch of awesome fight scenes and stunts in this movie. We'll also be talking to writer and director Walker Whitehead and one of our producers, Jason Winn. The two of them will be shedding some light on how the whole production side of the movie happened, how the movie actually got made. Walker shares how he came up with the idea initially and then how they made the whole thing happen, how they got the ball rolling and got this movie made and eventually got distribution, which is a really hard thing to do. And I think this is really important for actors to learn about too, learning how the entire filmmaking process works, because the more you understand that, the more you'll understand how you fit into that equation as actors. So we'll have a cool little roundtable discussion between the four of us. We share some of our favorite memories from working on the movie, some funny stories, and I think you'll enjoy a lot of this conversation. So without any further ado, let's meet Michelle, Walker, and Jason. Let's have everybody introduce themselves. Let's start with you, Walker.
Hey, I'm Walker. I'm the writer and director of By Night's End.
Michelle?
Next.
Hi. I'm Michelle Rose. I play Heather Barnes in By Night's End.
Hi, I'm Jason Winn. I'm executive producer for By Night's End. Our company, Wild Wind Pictures, was a part of bringing this to life.
Awesome. And you can see our original By Night's End poster right over Jason's left shoulder, hanging up on the wall. That's great. Cool. So I think we're just going to have like a little informal chat and just talk about our memories from working on set, any cool things we remember, funny things we remember happening. I mean, I haven't really seen all of you guys together since we had the wrap party. And especially now during the pandemic, we're not really seeing anybody in person anymore. So this is kind of the
Isn't
norm.
the timing of that weird?
Yeah.
How we managed to like make it early 2019.
Yeah.
All this crazy stuff has happened in between.
Yeah.
Now it's out in the world.
Yeah.
And now people are able to see it because they're locked up at home and catching it on VOD. So By Night's End out now. Go rent it. All right, so let's start with any fun, cool memories that you had from working on it. I think actually let's tell people what our production schedule was like. We shot this back in January, February of 2019, and it was a 12-day production, right?
Yeah. We did 12 days, and then because of various reasons, we had 3 pickup days, but it was like 2 shots on one day, 2 shots on another day, because one day we needed a car, one day we needed this actor, one day we need so
right.
And then 3 weekends, so we did 4-day blocks: Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Wait a few days because we had no money, so other people, you guys, could go work and actually make money. That was the idea, at least.
Yeah. And we finished it over the course of 3 weeks, and I think because obviously it the whole movie takes place at night. They were all night shoots, so that was a crazy thing. So yeah, the first question: any favorite memories from working on it over those 3 weeks back in 2019?
Well, you said night shoots though, but it was day shoots to look like night because
Yeah,
the city wouldn't let us shoot past like 11:30. So when we were outside shooting at night, it was like, holy crap, we gotta
we got to finish it before 11:30.
Yeah.
Right.
I was on set as much as I could be. I actually ended up getting sick with the flu, so I wasn't there as much as I wanted to be. But I remember one of the key moments when I was there, we were trying to figure out how to do the arrow gag because part of it was going to be practical and part of it was not going to be practical. So I just started thinking, I was talking to Jeff, part of our special effects team, and he and I were just kind of riffing on ideas, and we came up with the old Steve Martin trick where he just takes the coat hanger and like puts it around his head. I think I had one of those as a kid. And so we immediately jumped in my car and drove to Home Depot and found wire that we thought would work. And so Jeff and Brittany crafted basically this old school idea of just an arrow through the head, and then through editing and through the shots, we're able to make it seem very seamless. So that was really fun. I think what I really appreciated about the movie was just the experience of everybody coming together for a common cause. And I think that's why I like independent film. You are all working towards a goal. And I think that brings a special type of energy to the table that maybe you may or may not see on bigger productions. And I've done both. So I think my wheelhouse is I prefer the smaller productions where, you know, everybody's kind of grinding on the same vein to try and make it happen. And that's really what it comes down to. And I did another funny story. Walker, you can talk more about this, but you were about to get married or just got engaged. And then you said, hey, can we shoot at your house?
No, this was all, I got engaged after. So
okay. So you weren't engaged and you still asked if you could shoot at the house. And then it rained and rained and rained. And I just saw the yard going from bad to worse. I was like,
oh, and then we redecorated the bathroom.
Yeah, redecorated the bathroom.
Well, even before in pre-production, you painted the whole house and then painted it back, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised she let us do that. Maddie was nice enough to let us do crazy stuff at her house. But I mean, it was kind of like we were married before we were married. We'd been together so long. So, but yeah, Philip wanted the whole house as white walls, like the ones back here, because we're in the house we shot in. And Philip didn't want to shoot white walls. Light bounces everywhere. It doesn't look great sometimes. It takes a lot of work to control that light. So he said, what if we painted all the walls gray? And I was against it because that means we're painting the walls gray. We don't have the money to hire anyone. And so Philip, me, and Sean, I don't think anyone else really came, but we all moved everything, painted the whole house.
So Philip was the one that convinced you that it needed to happen.
He was like, I'm going to do it whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
He advocated hard for the gray wall. So we went out and picked a color, talked to Ariel, the production designer, and okayed it with her and painted the walls.
I think go ahead, Kurt. Sorry.
Well, I think it turned out to be a great decision. I mean,
yeah, I did too. I think it was really needed. It gives the house a different mood and everything. So
yeah, it's those details that people that are just watching the movie for entertainment value don't necessarily think about, and probably, it's not like we could shoot the same movie over again with white walls to show the difference.
Right.
But you can see the difference. Like if you go in, in the scene that takes place in this room or the bathroom scene where there's white walls, like you can feel the difference, between the tonality of the rooms and stuff. And, it was easier to control the light in this room and that room because, it's only two rooms that we have to really focus on that issue. But you can definitely feel the difference. So
I think an interesting story for you to talk about, Walker, is how this came about and kind of in a lightning speed kind of way, which is usually how it happens when it happens. It's like you work for years and years and years, and then it just happens. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd been doing shorts and whatever else, just knowing like this is the route that I wanted to go. I wanted to eventually do features. Yeah, I mean, it was just how do you get the money? How do you get someone to give you the money? How do how do you guys start the feature process? And I tried to start once actually with Michelle. That's where I met her. It was on the first feature that I wanted to do. We were kind of going to do it as a short, and then it was turning into a feature. Anyways,
When was that?
I feel like that was 2 years.
2015 maybe.
Yeah, that might have been 2
2015,
years
2016.
prior.
Yeah, but that was out of my own like ignorance of how it all worked, me trying to make something happen that there was absolutely no way it could have happened. We got some cool footage and made a little concept thing, but anyways, kept working and actually getting on sets and learning stuff, and finally it just came to that point of I was on a set as a camera operator going like, why are they able to do this and I'm not? Like, I got ideas, let me do it. And I was talking to Jason one day. Sorry, as I was on set, I came home one night and got in bed and thought, like, what if someone was in the crawl space? Which turned into I woke up and wrote all the beats down, and it became By Night's End in a few weeks when I wrote a first draft. I was talking to Jason one day in his driveway, and he said, I just want to go out in the woods and shoot something with all our friends and all. And I was like, oh, I got an idea. It's all in one location. It's all in my house. We could do it for pretty much nothing. He said, cool, let's do it. So on the way home, I called Ryan, another producer, called Sean, called Philip. I was like, hey, I got this idea. Do you guys want to do it? Everyone jumped on board and away we went. I think that might have been December, and then we started shooting in February.
That was December of 2018?
2018, yeah. We started shooting in February 2019.
I love how that happens, because I remember when you called me too, it was like, hey, do you want to do this? I'm like, yeah.
Which was like a nerve-wracking thing, because
I keep getting asked in interviews about the script, like, why did I want to do the movie? And I'm like, I signed on before I even read the script.
Me too.
because I've seen the stuff that you've created before, and I really liked it. I believed in it. I saw the shorts and the concepts, and I was like, I know this is going to be awesome. And it is the idea of being able to call upon your friends, and everyone wants to create something fun and just do it because we love this.
Yeah. And that's one of those things where people keep, we used to always hear, just go out and do it, just do it, just do it. And I used to hate, what the heck does just do it mean? I can't just go out and do it, whatever that is. And what I realized, it's like, oh, I have to meet you guys. I have to get on sets and like meet the collaborators and prove something and build those relationships. And then 3-4 years later, hey, I got an idea. You guys want to do it? And everyone comes on board, So.
Yeah, it came together really quick. And I think oftentimes we as filmmakers and artists get caught up in the reasons why not to do something. And I think that the paradigm shift is, if we can do it, we should do it. So it's like you're saying, Michelle, like, yeah, this is a good team. This is a solid team. We can do this and have it work at a high level. And, that was like our green light meeting. Everybody was in there. And I remember we were all sitting around, and it was almost like a Spartacus moment. Do you remember that, Walker, where it was like Ryan, Gabby, Megan, Sean, me, John, and we were short on money. And so we all started being like, well, I'll put money in. And like everybody all of a sudden just started going around the table.
That's
and
funny. I didn't remember that. What do you mean we were short on money? What did we start at?
I don't remember. But remember, that was the budget. Like, it was a budget question. And then it was like, well, I'll give you some money. I'll give you money. Everybody
I remember
stood up.
Because I remember when I first wrote the script, I thought, oh, we could do this for like $15,000, right? I've got the house, I own post-production company, we can do all that crap. And then I think it just started going up for various reasons, SAG and stuff like that. And it was like, oh, we can do this for, whatever the final budget was on the day. It was like 26,000 or something.
But that was part cash and in kind, but the cash was coming up short, and everybody like came to the table and just put their own money in.
Yeah. And then we went and talked to Jeff, and
And I remember who was cooking crafty too. People were actually.
Oh yeah, producers
were bringing crafty in the morning. Full on
Jason
breakfast.
made a quiche, right?
Yeah, I made like 8 or 9 quiches.
Yeah, because we always had lunch, but we never had breakfast. As a paid person coming to do it. So like Sean's dad came, he was a great chef and would do it. I think Ryan and Gabby did it a couple times.
Yeah, we took turns. We all took turns making breakfast. So
we always say we all wear a bunch of different hats on this movie, and some of it is producer / caterer.
Yeah. That's where I started, so it worked out.
So Walker, you told me earlier that you had tweeted what the final budget was for the movie. What was it?
Well, I tweeted, I always say under 30,000, but it was 26,000 on the day. I'm sure, Jason, I don't know if anyone cares me saying this, but I feel like saying it now that the movie's out. It was 26,000 on the day, but we did it with, crew deferred pay. So we owe a lot of people money. So like if you add all that together, it's somewhere in like 70,000 or something like that. But
it's still sub 100,000, and
it's still technically no budget, right?
Right.
Which is still incredible to do a full feature film for that amount of money, getting it done in 12 days and having it, be as good as it is and getting distribution, which is incredible.
Thanks.
Getting back to a couple of the on-set stories. Michelle, you touched upon this, the redecorating of the bathroom. That was not that it was one of the cool scenes in the movie, but it was actually
did you know
planned.
The first short I ever did, we had a fight scene and that same thing happened. Did I tell you this, Michelle?
I think
No, I didn't know that.
So
in that bathroom?
No, in an old apartment years ago. First short I ever did years ago.
When you
it was in an old apartment.
Drywall, it tends to break.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we kept doing that. It was a similar thing where the guy kept running into the wall and he fell through the wall. So the take before you went through the wall, I looked at Sean and said, "Remember that first short we did like 5 years ago?" And that guy went through the wall. I think that's about to happen again. That take.
I had a feeling too, because we did a little rehearsal and I kind of nudged up against the wall and I was like,
Yeah. Production value, that was cool.
I was like, I kind of felt something, and I remember kind of looking at you guys thinking, can I do this? But then you just yelled action. I was like, all right.
Let's go.
We had Philip, who's manly and can repair walls and stuff, so he came back and helped him fix it.
He can paint and repair walls.
He can paint and
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So for people that have seen the movie, or for people who are going to see it in the future, there's that fight scene that ends up going into the bathroom, and you see a cool part where Michelle gets thrown into the wall, and then as she comes off the wall, there's a huge hole in it at that point, and that was not a planned hole that appeared in the wall. That just happened on that take, and it's awesome that it worked out. And props to you, Michelle, for keeping going and not being like, oh no.
Actually, well,
no, you did.
We do have a take where we definitely.
It's
really?
Actually in there's a thing I put on YouTube, and I think it'll be in the behind the scenes movie.
Okay.
So she goes to grab the toothbrush after she goes in the wall and misses or something or slips, and she goes, "Dang it!" And she turns around and goes, and then Matt, who's she's fighting, turns and just looks at the camera and goes.
I forget how we made it work though, because once the hole was there, we ended up having to just work with that, and because I remember there was continuity issues with certain bathroom scenes of when we were going to have the hole and when we weren't going to have the hole.
Yeah, I think we just went and got a piece to put over it. So like in Kurt's scene when he's in the bathroom talking on the radio, if you look down there, you can see our quick fix. Just
really? No, I haven't even noticed that.
Yeah. There's a couple things like that. If you look closely, you'll see quick fixes or things like that. Like Michelle, when you stomp through the ceiling and we put the two drywall pieces together. I realized recently, if you look closely, you can see the brick wall of the porch right there.
Oh.
You can kind of see. There's like things like that where if you look closely, you can like see the cracks and seams of how we did it. But that's with any movie.
Yeah.
That's cool. More Easter eggs for people to look for.
Yeah.
Another thing that I remember that like kind of caught Michelle off guard was we dyed my hair for a lot of it, right? For the whole movie, and then there was the one scene where we were hugging, and Michelle had her hand on my head, and then we had said cut, and then Michelle looks at her hand, she was like, "What is this?"
That's hilarious. I didn't know that. The scene where you go back into the bedroom and you say you're going to call the cops and you sit on the floor and put the phone down.
Yeah.
Right if you look past you into the hallway, you can see where we shot the scene of you two in the hallway together quietly. You can see a spot on the wall of your head.
Where I put my head on against the wall.
And we just I guess it didn't get cleaned or we didn't have time to paint it or anything. So.
I mean, that's part of the fun of shooting something in 12 days is that, we're just like, all right, moving on. And we miss a couple of those little things.
And the frying pan was from one of my old movies that I
Yeah.
had laying around. That it's just a fun gag, like to hit somebody with a fake frying
Yeah,
pan.
that was added later because I think we were talking about that fight and you said, I have a frying pan. We're like, oh, cool. We're going to add that somehow.
I feel like that's gonna have to be a thing in every movie.
Yeah,
But-
I don't know where it landed. I don't have it anymore, but it
No.
was just a little fake. It looked like a super skillet, and like
Well, in all the
It's a
scenes
gag.
before the fight, there is a real skillet laying there. And then during the fight, we switch it out. I
yeah,
wonder what happened to that
it's a
pan,
funny
actually.
gag.
Speaking of all those props, it was very interesting continuity wise dealing with the fact that we were in one location for the entire course of the film in different rooms. And so I remember constantly with props, everyone was like, where are
Me
we?
too.
Where
Yeah,
are
I'd
we?
have to
Is the
flip
pan
back and be
here,
like,
or is the
yeah.
box here?
That
Yeah.
was one of the most difficult things. Like, okay, where is that gun now? Where did it end up? Where
Mhm.
did it come from? Yeah, that was super difficult.
Yeah.
It was tough. And then we also did make some like decisions on the fly that weren't written into the script, right? So then we
Yeah.
couldn't necessarily just look at the script to decide. We had to
Right.
remember, oh yeah, we put the walkie here, or we put the
But what I
gun.
did learn about that, I learned a lot about that, which was like, Michelle, you would bring up the practical question of like, how do I have this thing in my pocket? I don't have pockets on my pants. And what we learned is like, who gives a shit? You know, it
You know,
doesn't matter where it comes from. We don't need to like go, look, she pulled it out of her pocket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, once I watched the film, it was specifically that scene when Kurt and I have the conversation in the room you're in right now, Walker.
Mhm.
And it's what was Matt's character's name?
Tom. Yeah.
Tom. So it's when Tom comes in, and then you see that long shot through the hallway, and I just pull the
Yeah,
gun.
pull it out. Yeah. But who cares? It's like,
I'm wearing
sure.
spandex pants.
Right.
Yeah.
Where's that gun?
Right.
But nobody's really,
It works in the
Movie
shot.
magic.
Like
Yeah.
I don't question it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting how that works out. There's a lot of stuff like that where if you think about it too much, like, yeah, but if you don't think about it, and most people aren't, then who cares?
Mhm.
I think if we're doing our job, hopefully they won't be nitpicky,
Right.
and they'll
Yeah,
just
definitely.
enjoy the ride.
Well,
Yeah,
now
very
they're gonna
Right.
know, and now they're gonna look for it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Well,
That's
yeah,
all.
look for it on the second time through. It's fun to
Yeah.
find those little things.
You know what else I remember is the nail that they used on your hand, Kurt.
Hmm.
They didn't have an actual nail. Didn't they use like a reverse googly eye?
Yep, there was a
something-
googly eye
remember
on the
that.
top of the nail.
tip of the
Yep.
nail was they took a googly eye, reversed it, and painted it.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense too. Like, yay, art department, I love all them, but like that's in the script. How did that get left to the day of? I don't know.
Well, they were being creative. It worked.
Yeah,
Figure it
was very
out.
cool. It worked out. Yeah.
It looked gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out really well. I still think it would have been funny to leave the googly eye on there though.
I do remember that conversation.
I wanted to do a shot when he rips it out of your hand, like seeing your skin be pulled up
Yeah.
a little bit. But we
Yeah.
never had time for that.
Yeah, that would have been gnarly.
That would have been an insert shot on one of those pickup days.
Yeah.
When you're how many pages were you shooting a day? 10?
No, a little less because it was like an
8?
85-page script. So,
8 to 10?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, 8 pages a day. Yeah, that's a
A
lot.
lot.
Yeah.
That's a
I
lot.
think the least amount of pages we shot in one day was the day that we did the crawl space fight and the oneer,
Hmm.
which is stupid that we did all that in one day. Like, how did we do a crawl space fight?
And
That doesn't make any sense.
there was
But-
a thunderstorm that night too.
and then there was a thunderstorm,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
2
That was
hours
one of the
away.
days where we were worried about timing because we had to finish at a certain time, and then it was the day of the oneer, and that there was lightning.
Yeah, 2 hour delay.
Of all
we had to sit
days.
around and do
Of all
nothing.
days, we had to sit in there and couldn't do anything.
I think I sat, like everyone was kind of inside talking. I think I stood on the porch and just stared at the sky for 2 hours.
Sounds about right.
Waited. That was one of the last days, right? That was close to the last day.
Probably. There's so many things like that I just like block out of my memory, I think.
Yeah, because it was so close to the end. Otherwise, we could have just tried to shoot something else, but we had already finished so much of it at that point. Like there
Yeah.
wasn't anything we could pick up.
But also the oneer, it's not like you can like go into something else and then come back because we're having to rehearse it so much and
Right.
like make sure everyone. Well, I mean, you're just laying in the floor and that, but
Yeah.
for everyone else,
That was hard work rehearsal for
yeah,
me.
not that laying in the floor isn't hard.
I think the oneer was really impressive because the way that you had designed it was incorporating all these different camera operators, myself included, and then it just got to like convoluted between falling down on the wet grass and everything else, and you just grabbed it and did it. Like you did 3 in a row, and we watched one and it was almost good, and like rather than keep talking about it, you did one more and it was perfect.
Yeah, so tell people how that worked out, because I'm sure that'll be in the behind the scenes at something about that. But who started it? How many people did it get passed along to before it finally ended?
Yeah, I normally, like in the behind the scenes, we don't talk about it because normally I hate it when directors camera operate. It's like stay in your job and let the operator do his job. But we were shooting on a gimbal, and the original intent, like the idea for the Wonder changed into so many different iterations, and we landed on the last one where she goes through the house in the end. And originally it was going to be, you know, someone starts and they pass the Ronin or the gimbal off to someone on the ground off the porch. They go along, they pass it up to someone who goes through the windows, they pass it back down. There were going to be multiple pass offs, but I just started noticing the cracks, you know, passing it off. You'd see some shake, you'd see this, you'd see that. So eventually I was like, look, I've got the most Ronin experience. Let me try this. So I just took it, and I have longer legs, I guess. So I was able to step off the porch and kind of just do everything except for pass it off to Hayden for the looking through the window shot.
So that was the only pass off,
That
right?
was the only pass off, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no digital manipulation either. It's all one shot. There's no.
That was the only, and then he carried it on from there, or he gave it back?
No, he went across the windows and then passed it back down.
Passed it back to
took it again.
Yeah, so there were 2 exchanges total.
Yeah, and it worked out. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
we were able to use the last one, and of course we could have done it a million bajillion times, but
I don't remember what we did it in 4 takes.
No, there are 12 takes, not complete. There, you know,
Right.
at least 6 or 7 of those are stopping in the middle of it for whatever reason.
Okay.
But there were 12 takes and probably, I don't know, 5 or so full takes through the whole winter.
But it didn't really. It only worked really once you got in there because of it's just tiny little things were kept happening.
Well, also we changed gear after about 4 takes. Originally we had Robbie, our first AC's little tiny Ronin, and I hated it. You could just see all the movement. It was never that stable. So I said, let's put it on the big Ronin and let's do it again. And that's the one that worked out. So.
It's a great shot. I love that shot.
Yeah, I do too.
It was, you know, that was an idea of like commercially, let's have interesting shots, but also character-wise, you know, we can watch Heather finally, you know, use her talents and be military, whatever, and you know, she's out there scoping and trying to figure out where everyone is. So there was character, you know, it was for the character more than just doing a oneer. So
yeah,
and showing Mark in his suffering.
And showing Mark in his suffering, just to give you a break.
Well, what's the line that Milligan says is Parker pirate?
Yeah, because Ryan is out in the yard looking for him. Parker pirate?
Yeah.
Check every. He also says check every chicken's little asshole.
That's not in the script. He just made that up.
I know he did.
I went back and forth. I went back and forth on should we keep that, and Sean and other people kept being like, it's weird and he's weird, so just leave it. It's awesome. So
let it roll.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ryan, I love his death in the movie where he just comes in the door and just gets shot and killed.
Have you seen the fast version of that?
No.
I'll text you guys right now the non-slow-mo version. It's the funniest thing.
It's basically a graceful fall.
You know, Jason, I know you've done feature films in the past, but any particular takeaways or lessons that you got from this one?
For this one, this is the first time I'd come on as a creative producer and executive producer. And so I think for me was just to be there if Walker needed another voice, but to not interject my voice into the mix. So it was very much a trust that Walker and I had built together for me to say, he's ready, he's got this. Most of my interjections were more side stuff, small things, little details. And then mostly after the fact that the movie's been done, just helping navigate the distribution and things like that based on my own experiences. But no, I mean, I think my job was to just, create an environment where everybody can do their best work and where he felt comfortable leading the whole group and to just stay out of everyone's way. And that's what I did. So I think he did a great job. I think you and Michelle did a great job and carried the film. There's not anything I would have done differently, except for maybe added a few more days. But that's the way it always is.
Yeah. No matter how many days you got,
no matter how much money and how many days you have, you never have enough. So part of the thrill, I think, of making motion pictures in general is you have to excite people to the point where they're willing to give you their all, and then you have a very finite amount of time to create this thing that ultimately, if you're lucky, lasts forever. So it's a really special film to be a part of, and I think it's a great start in your career, Walker, for you to go to that next step. And I think getting the next one is just about the same thing. Don't take a different approach. We just keep grinding and keep rolling. So that was my takeaway from the project.
That's awesome.
And it was to keep my head on straight because I have no patience. So I would look at Jason like, what did you do when this happened?
I got more patient as I got older, but I think the big thing about directing is picking and choosing your battles, because everybody comes at you from every department across the board with their filters of the things that they want or need or think they need. And it's very fast. And so it can get very chaotic. And so I think after the first few days, I think you just kind of settle into it, and then you're able to like compartmentalize. Okay, this is really not as big a deal as you think it is. So it's okay. I can put that fire out. This is actually a bigger deal than you think it is. We need to fix this. And so I think that being able to manipulate that, I got to see you grow very quickly. But yeah, it's intense. It's intense. You don't. Yeah. It's extreme sport, as a friend of mine says.
Yeah.
Well, it also spoke to the amount of pre-production that you guys did to get it all planned out before we started rolling for the first time, because we ran into issues just like every production does, but I was shocked by the time we finished, like how smoothly, the whole thing went. I mean, we were able to basically follow the shoot schedule, all the way through till the last day, and didn't really have any like major hiccups.
That's true. I don't know. My first thought was like, yeah, I mean, and when something does come up, like I don't like lingering on decisions. So it's just like, cool, we'll do this. All right, we'll do this, so. Yeah. Hey, since Kurt's channel is actually about acting, we should talk about acting. Which made me think, is this the most amount of days you guys worked, not worked, but, had to consistently keep a character?
It is for me. Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, full feature. It's a lot. It was a lot of dialogue, a lot of scenes, a lot. I think something that I thought a takeaway for me that was really interesting was having to match your energy between scenes, because we were going back and forth.
Yeah, I saw Kurt said that same thing in an interview.
Yeah, and that was, there was one specific moment too that I remember. I think it was after the bathroom fight, and then that's shot on a completely different day. And then I run out to the living room to see Kurt with the nail in his hand. You're having to match like those different moments, or I don't know. It was just, and because we were going back and forth so much, it was constantly trying to remember where was I just, and what was I going through in that moment, so that when I walk into this room, I can match that energy. So that was
I totally agree. Yeah, that was my biggest challenge, I think, too, from an acting standpoint, was matching the energy. But I also think that it was unique for this particular movie because we talked about the challenges being in one location with the props and all of that. It made it a little bit more difficult because it wasn't like oh, this is the scene where we walk into the bedroom. Well, which scene was it where we walk into the bedroom, you know?
Yeah.
So that part of like matching the energy was difficult too. And you know, because we're shooting out of order, and you know, what do we do, you know, a few days ago or last week, and we didn't really have the time to go, let's go watch playback, because we have to, you know, just kind of move
Right.
along. So we
I
had
was
to,
gonna say we didn't have the time, and we didn't have a dedicated, you know, loader, DIT, whatever you want to call
right,
them. So
right.
what was your guys' process for when you would come back into a scene? Did you just have to rack your brain, or?
Well, I remember we were having a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
We would look at our script and we would talk with each other about what's going on.
Yeah.
Where are we? We'd have to talk about it first, and okay, this is what it is.
Yeah, that was a big part of it, and that was a great thing of being able to, you know, there were pluses and minuses of any type of situation. I think one of the positives of how small of a cast we had, and that we were in one location, was that Michelle and I worked together for the entire movie. So any questions that we had about what happened, or what we needed to think about, or what our motivations are, or whatever, anything like that, we can always talk to each other about it, because we're just always there with each other in the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, help me think of more acting questions. What would help? What are some good questions that people watching Kurt's channel about acting would want to know?
I mean, I think you as a first-time director in this, where it's like every day for consecutive over and over and over again, how did you handle their questions, and then also their ideas? Because filmmaking is collaborative, so it's not a situation where, you know, you're the dictator. In most cases, you know, you have to hear them out and make those adjustments based on what your filter is. I think people would find it interesting, I think, as a writer director, being able to hear your actors and encourage them, but then also, even if they're not seeing the bigger picture, being able to get them to a place where they can perform, and then in the bigger picture it works. And I didn't really see any kind of those scenarios on set. It always felt like, you know, very much rehearse, block, light, shoot, you know. And I think that that's something that's really important for actors, is they got to know what they're doing. You can't just say, stand here and say this line. They don't like that. So I guess that would be my question if I was a young director or a young actor, is like when to talk to the director about notes, and how to approach that if, you know, there's, you know, trying to figure out the scene. I think, you know, that's just part of the work. It's just the organic nature of making movies.
Yeah, it is interesting, because I think that was what I was least prepared for about this movie, was the questions that I would get. Because I mean, you guys always had questions, and that's great, you know. But for me, like, being able to juggle everyone's questions and figure out how to talk to you guys about it was tough. Like, I remember one specifically, Michelle was asking me a question, and I was like, look, just do it my way first. Let's see what happens. And we did it. And I was like, oh, you're right. That was terrible. Let's do it your way. You know, so like, I learned how to balance that, and I think learned how to be like, okay, let's try it this way, and then we'll go to the next one, and also be able to admit, okay, that was dumb, bad idea. You're right. Let's do it that way. So,
I think one thing that did help was that we had time to, you know, we sat down with you beforehand, like a week or two before, and, you know, chatted about the entire story, chatted about our characters, and had a little bit of that, you know, that tiny bit of rehearsal time that, you know, we really aren't afforded when we're doing film or TV, that, you know, that theater actors are accustomed to, right? So having that little bit of rehearsal time to talk through it helped a lot. But even still, like you said, once we're on set, on the day, you know, once we're in the situation, we're in the room, when we're going through the scenes, there's always going to be those little questions that pop up, and like you said, Jason, that's where that collaborative process comes into play, and it's really helpful to be able to, from an acting standpoint, to be able to work with other actors and work with the director who are willing to, you know, talk through things, and be able to do it efficiently too, instead of you know, just either dictating or, you know, having it shut the whole thing down to try to figure something out.
what is the difference for you guys for, like, when you're on a TV show? Do you guys just walk in and here you go? You know, you got the script the night before, now do your scene, and do you guys
Co-star stuff, yeah. For co-star stuff, it's just like, here it is, and sometimes you never even get the chance to say a single word with the director until you are there, like the rehearsal 5 minutes before you cameras roll, you know.
I mean, I would assume they do, but are there notes given, or is it really just like, well, we cast you to do this based on your tape, do what you did in the tape kind of thing?
Generally speaking, yeah, for smaller roles like co-stars, yeah, I think they cast you because they like what you did in the tape. Once you get into a little larger roles, yeah, there's definitely a little more collaboration and communication, and or they'll give you adjustments. But no, I think for our film, it definitely was a lot more of a collaborative experience, and we were able to talk things through with you and with each other. I haven't had an opportunity to do something on this scale before, so I couldn't tell you what it's like on a massive movie as a lead. But as far as, yeah, like Kurt said, with co-stars and things, yeah, you go in, you do your job, and if they give you adjustments, you take those adjustments. At least
I have a
my
question.
experience so far, yeah.
So just out of curiosity, in that scenario that you're talking about with like going on to do a show or a guest star or whatever, you obviously make choices, right? You have to make your actor choices, and you just roll with it, whatever worked in the audition that got you the job. And then if they don't give you any direction, do you just carry those choices off into the scene, and then when y'all rehearse it with the other actors before they block it, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and you like created your own fantastical backstory, like you've created this character in your head, even if nobody ever knows anything about bartender one, right, or whatever the guest star, whatever that speaking role is, you still as an actor have to do a tremendous amount of work to go in there and be believable. It's more than just doing line reads. I think that's something important too for people to understand.
Yeah. What about you, Kurt? What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I agree with the smaller roles. I think when I audition, I make my choices for the audition, and if it is a role that they have callbacks, I'll just do the exact same thing that I did for my initial one for the callback, and just if they have adjustments, and I'll do the adjustments, and that's happened before too. Otherwise, I just assume that they liked what I did for my audition. I'll just do the same thing on set. And sometimes I've made some like choices that were kind of off the wall or whatever, and I just assume that's what they want. I'm going to do it, even though it's not exactly how it's written in the script. I'll do that, and maybe they like it, maybe they give adjustments on the day. But I think that's where when you do have those smaller roles, that's where just like relying on your training, doing making the choices and trusting the everything that you've learned, and bring that to set, because you can't really expect to have that time with the director. They're spending most of the time talking to the leads, because that's what the scene is about, and you go in to help tell the story. And the more that you can save them time of coming in here and trying to like fix whatever you're doing, the better it is for the entire show.
There's a great series on YouTube of Joe Carnahan talking about stuff, and he says difference between a $5 million movie and a $100 million movie is better food and bigger trailers. That's about it.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
One of the things that I learned, that I picked up from Philip when we were just chatting about, when we had some downtime, we were chatting about what he was doing. And I think one of the things, a lot of the effects in the movie in By Night's End are practical, and I think we had some conversations about that, and he had I can't remember exactly what he said, but he talked about how a lot of times what makes lower budget movies look low budget is because they try to overstep what they're able to do. And he said that we can still work within our means, but make things look really cool if if you know how to do things. And
yeah, was he talking about like the gunshots?
Yeah, that was a big part of it.
That was the one conversation we had early on, was, look, we're gonna have some gunshots, but I hate low budget movies, even like $20 million movies. You go watch those Bruce Willis movies now, you'll see gun shooting. It's the worst CGI muzzle flash you've ever seen. It's just these pops that are the same yellowy crap every single shot. And I was like, we're not doing that. You know, the muzzle flashes I have done on shorts I've done, like every single one is different. It's not a flash every single gun. And we
Right.
talked about it for this. How are we going to do that for slow motion? Because we knew we were going to have the finale be in slow
Right.
motion, because, you know, we can't do a huge epic shootout. Well, let's make it crazy somehow by making it slow. And he said, well, what if we did this? And he brought out those little flash bulbs, which were for, like, you know, cameras in the 60s or something. So every time you guys shot a gun and pulled the trigger, you had a button or whatever, and it made that practical big flash in the room. So, like, none of that, I didn't add anything to it. None of what you see with guns is CG. It's all real, and I love it. I think it helps so much. I don't know why they don't use more, I mean, maybe they do, but flashy stuff on more movies, because it looks awesome. You get, you know, instead of just some stupid little flash on the end of the gun, you get 5 frames of that huge white light appearing. It looks so cool. And there's one shot actually of Michelle after you shoot Carlos, where you're standing there and there's smoke coming up.
Mm-hmm.
That was an outtake where you pulled the trigger and the flash didn't go off. It just smoked. But you kept your composure and stood there, and the smoke drifted in a frame. And I was like, that's cool when you use that.
And so that was real smoke that came.
That's real smoke. That's
wow.
Not, that came from the bulb. It just, the bulb never went off.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The other practical was that smoke bomb that you threw in your house.
Yeah, I think I think that left some marks there. Not the other day, like a month ago, I tried to get something off the ceiling and it just started smudging. And I was like, that's smoke smudge.
Oh, wow.
I think the smoke we threw in here is on the walls. I don't know.
What was that? Just one of those smoke bombs that you use for airsoft?
Yeah, some smoke bomb. Ben went and picked up our second ACs in the airsoft and knew where to get them, so he got them and brought them to us.
You're going to be finding By Night's End decorations on your house for years to come.
Yeah, there's blood on the couch still. There's blood on one of the pillows.
Oh, we tried so hard with the couch. But not.
Good times.
Yeah. That's great. All right, well, we can wrap this up. This was a great conversation. We had a lot of cool stories, a lot of cool insights from everybody. What's next for everyone? What's next for you, Walker? It's October, so is there a new script coming down the line right now that we can start shooting in January, February?
Yeah, I wish. I mean, I wrote 3 scripts during quarantine. So
that's awesome.
I wrote one that could be done for about $1 million.
3 features?
Yeah, I wrote 3 features since January. One of them is probably like a $200 million thing that'll never get made. And then on the other end, I did one for like $1 million that is probably what I want to do next, and hopefully will be the next step, but it's just getting someone's attention to actually give me the $1 million. So we'll see.
Awesome.
What about
Michelle?
you? Oh, me. Okay.
Either or.
Yeah, I mean, I was also stuck in quarantine like everyone else, so I was shooting some creative projects, like creative shorts with friends via Zoom. That was fun. And then now things have finally opened up, so I've been fortunate to be back on sets. I just worked on an Amazon show called Mal de Ojo. I also just worked on I'm on a new Marvel series, but I can't really talk a lot about that. But I'm excited for that one. And
great.
I'm going to text you and ask you if it's something, because I'm doing drone scouting next week for some show, and I wonder if it's the same thing.
I don't know. Dun, dun, dun.
Secrets. I'm scheduled to direct a movie at the end of the month, and then I'm working on casting a movie that we're hoping to get off the ground in 2021, like right at the top of the year. And then I'm shooting a couple more movies before the end of the month, or before the end of the year. So
before the end of the month.
It feels like it, but
Just a few movies.
Just a few. Yeah, we just wrapped yesterday on a movie called Stick Me Up, which is a Black Lives Matter movie that I'm doing with my partner Greg and Wild Wind Pictures and Jump Off Entertainment. So we shot that last week, and then we're doing another one gearing up in November. We're actually doing a Kung Fu movie, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then we're doing a Christmas movie at the beginning of December. So we're stacking them up to try and get the content out there. So it's good. Good to be busy.
It is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, there you go. It's the ultimate Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that review that was like, you know, it's sort of Christmassy, but I just wish they had used Carol of the Bells and like a guitar solo over the final shootout. And then it was like bad movie because of that. What?
I told you not to read your reviews.
I couldn't help it for a while. I quit.
I saw a YouTube review where someone said the director, Walter White.
Yeah, I saw that too. I immediately got on social media and was like, if you do reviews and you can't figure out the title of the movie or the director's name, don't do reviews. Because it's usually either Walter or it's Before Night's End instead of by.
It's all good. Hey, people are talking about you. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I even said Before Night's End one time when we did our first when the TV crew came out on one of the days that we were shooting.
Yeah.
And they were interviewing me and I said Before Night's End. Walker was like 10 feet away and he was like, by Night's End.
Yeah. That was fun. Well, cool. Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. It was good seeing you.
Bye.
All right, I want to thank Michelle, Walker, and Jason one more time for joining me here on my channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions for any of us, just leave them down in the comments below. Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and I hope to see you on set one day. And don't forget to go watch By Night's End on video on demand.